Welcome to the Backyard Professor Esoteric Studies. In the course of preparing for my Sunday Live this coming up weekend, I have also uncovered some more of my notes on infinity that is really interesting. At one time, I was making a major research project out of this, and I bought all kinds of books and read all kinds of articles and all. So I'm putting that together, but I think this tonight is going to be a good overview idea, and it's not going to be really long tonight. The Ouroboros of objectivity. This idea is to see why science insists objectivity is the only way to truth and reality, and the major problem with that, because when we study the esoteric, which I will be doing a lot of, we run into this subjectivity versus objectivity. So let's get clear about what is actually involved. And so I'm going to share with you some notes I put together. I've called it the Ouroboros of objectivity, how science unwittingly proves the primacy of consciousness. There is a great paradox of knowing. Science begins with an act of humility. Let's get the human bias out of the way. Let's see reality as it really is. It's a beautiful idea. It is noble, truly. But here's the twist. Who decided that? A human mind. Yeah, even the wish to be objective is itself a subjective judgment, a choice made by consciousness. So before the first experiment, even before the first equations thrown out there here, we already have a paradox. To get rid of subjectivity, we must begin with a subjective act of faith in objectivity, because you don't know if objectivity will give you the total package, so you have faith in it. Yet subjectivity is called blind faith. Interesting irony. The snake has already started eating its own tail at the very start of this. Science, in its quest to eliminate the observer, depends entirely on the one thing it cannot eliminate: the observer. What is objectivity really? So objectivity, what we're trying to strive for is see the world without personal bias. Just facts, just data. That's what we want. And that's powerful. It gives us lasers and medicine and telescopes to look at the early dawn of the universe, etc. That's a very wonderful thing that this does. But let's ask the question that nobody likes to ask. Who built those telescopes? Who decided which facts mattered? Who declared that bias should be removed? A conscious mind did. Objectivity isn't a thing, an object that we find in nature at all. It's a discipline of consciousness. Now, this mental posture, invented by humans, is for a very important and good and valuable cause to sharpen our perception. So there can be no argument about desiring this to an extent, because it is meant in the spirit of fortitude and being very helpful, which we always applaud. The irony is, to achieve pure objectivity, you first need an extremely refined subjectivity that is capable of noticing its own filters, the eye that sees itself seeing. So, and again, we have to go to the microscopic because there are very important lessons here in the quantum realm that we want to make sure we understand as objectively as we can. The quantum realm behaves like a dream trying to remember itself, doesn't it? I mean, here's the issue. We know that an electron is a wave until someone looks. Yeah, and then it becomes a particle. A photon travels through 2 slits until someone observes. And then it picks just one. So this famous double slit experiment shows this very clearly. When unobserved particles act like waves existing in many places at once, when they're measured, they collapse into a definite outcome. The act of observation changes what is observed. That's what the quantum physics demonstrates. So that's not mysticism, that's modern physics. I'm not getting mystical at all yet. In fact, I'm not going to get mystical at all in this particular video. John Wheeler, one of the world's renowned physicists, said, "We have no right to say that the past exists independent of the act of observation. The universe, in a strange way, seems to wait for someone to look before it decides what to be." And that's weird, but that's what happens. So there is a counter argument to this where a lot of people say, well, it's just measurement. If they're uncomfortable with this weird mystery, they often push back. It's not consciousness collapsing the wave function at all. It's measurement. And interaction counts. So a machine, not a mind, does the observing. So they point to detectors and Geiger counters and all kinds of stuff, computers, and they say, see, no human is needed for this. And at first that sounds tidy, but it hides a deeper issue, an issue that we can sense perfectly. Why do we have that niggling going on right now? Because of this. Machines don't build themselves. They don't decide what counts as measurement. They don't define data or signal or collapse. Consciousness does all of that. So a detector may register a photon hit, but that event only becomes a fact inside a framework that's created by minds. Someone conceived the experiment here first. They designed the apparatus. They set the threshold, and they will later interpret the results of this experiment. Without consciousness, a detector is just one part of the universe bumping into another. There's no observation, there's no meaning, there's no record. So when scientists try to, kick out the observer, throw the observer out into exile, we don't want an observer in this at all, the observer sneaks back in wearing a lab coat. That's the meta-observer idea. Consciousness doesn't have to be the thing watching each quantum interaction at all. It's the condition that makes watching possible at all. So we need to understand observation versus awareness. I think this is what's getting muddied up here. So in physics, observation means interaction. It's an exchange of energy or an exchange of information, something along that line. In philosophy, observation means awareness. It's a mind perceiving something. So the confusion happens when we mix those meanings. The machine interacts. We're not arguing that whatsoever. Yeah, the machine does interact, but interaction alone is not knowledge. The machine doesn't know that it knows. Only consciousness transforms an interaction into an experience. So, yeah, a detector will collapse the wave, but consciousness collapses meaning. And meaning is what makes the universe understandable. So, the real zinger in all of this is the observer never left. Even if you let the machine do the watching, it was consciousness that decided what watching means. Yeah. It was consciousness that flicked the on switch on, or else plugged the plug into the wall so that the machine could do its observation. Yeah. The observer never left. It just stepped behind the curtain and wrote the script. That's the real paradox of modern science. We've tried so hard to make a universe without mind, and yet every step of the way, mind is the one holding the measuring stick. The physicist and the mystic both find themselves saying the same thing in different languages. Reality and awareness are entangled. That's not a new discovery, interestingly enough. It's a rediscovery. The ancients already knew this dance between subject and object. The Upanishads whispered, "Thou art that, tat tvam asi." The observer and the observed are one. And the Upanishads, if I remember my history correctly of scripture, are the oldest scriptures in the world. They go way, 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 way back. So the Buddha said that the world is mind-made, meaning perception is what shapes existence. And Hermes Trismegistus taught, as within, so without. Today, we could say, as observed, so manifested. Science has caught up with mysticism. It just uses a different vocabulary. The Ouroboros turns again in another remarkable way. And now we see why the Ouroboros, this is the serpent eating its own tail, is such a perfect symbol. The scientist looks outward for truth. The mystic looks inward for the truth. But they meet at the same circle, the self-observing universe. Every experiment, every equation, every meditation is the universe trying to see itself more clearly. You cannot take the consciousness out of the cosmos any more than you can take the sparkle out of the light. Consciousness is the sparkle. The universe is aware of its own existence. And the deeper irony still is this. People who say, "I only believe in what can be proven." We've heard that. We know people in our lives who have that approach. I'm only going to believe in what can be proven, rarely realize that this belief itself cannot be proven. It is a subjective creed about objectivity, and they don't even realize it. Isn't that ironic? That's the cosmic joke, man. The more you insist on removing the observer, the more you prove that the observer is indispensable. The harder you chase pure objectivity, the more your own subjectivity stares back at you from the glass. That's not failure. That's revelation. The two wings of knowledge, an analogy that might help us understand this is science and spirituality are not opposites. They are wings of the same bird. Science tells us how the universe works, and we are so glad. That's not a negative. That's awesome. Spirituality tells us why it matters, and that's not bad. That too is awesome. When both wings move together, consciousness soars. Einstein said it beautifully. He said, the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and all science. The physicist's equations and the mystic's meditations are both reflections of the same wonder, the Ouroboros of knowing. We want to know. And now our final realization is quite interesting. Now everything comes full circle in this desire, because we are not separate observers of a distant cosmos at all. We are expressions of the cosmos observing itself. You are the universe thinking and wondering and feeling its own vastness. Every thought you have is a ripple of the infinite field of being. We're it. When you look up at the night sky, you are not a small creature staring at distant stars at all. You are those stars gathered into awareness, looking back at yourself through human eyes. That's the truest observation of all. The universe became conscious so that it could behold its own vastness. So the next time someone tells you that consciousness doesn't matter, smile and ask, who decided that? Because that question alone brings the Ouroboros to life again. The thinker and the thought, the seer and the seen, forever entwined. And that, my friends, is the Ouroboros of objectivity, the grandest paradox of all. The universe trying to forget itself, only to remember that it was always awake. That's profound. So thank you for watching my Backyard Professor Esoteric Studies videos. I have a lot more coming down the pipe. I'm going to do quite a few videos this weekend, I do believe. And I am preparing for a spectacular Sunday Live on the books of Enoch again, actually on Enoch himself, and a very interesting situation that happened to him when he got to the highest heaven, the 10th heaven, in Jewish cosmology. It's quite stunning what I'm finding. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you too. In the meantime, remember, have fun, do good, be well, make lots of friends, get lots of sleep, and come on back just as fast as you can, because I am going to be back as soon as I can with much more to share with you. And I hope you have a blessed evening, because I'm going to.